People for years have been asking, where is it? Where is Axel Foley? Where's Eddie Murphy? Where's another Beverly Hills Cop movie? We can't end on what we were given with Beverly Hills Cop 3. Please, please give us another one so that way we can forget about that one. Eddie Murphy, he's like, all right. Everyone's been asking. We'll deliver this time. Hopefully do it right.
We're gonna need some backup.
Whoa! What are you doing?
I'm getting us some backup. God, I missed you, Axel.
Beverly Hills Cop Axel F is directed by Mark Molloy with a screenplay by Will Beall, Tom Gormican, and Kevin Etten, and a story by Will Beall. Film stars Eddie Murphy, Joesph Gordan-Levitt, Taylour Paige, Judge Reinhold, John Ashton, Paul Reiser, Bronson Pinchot, and Kevin Bacon. According to IMDb's plot synopsis, Axel Foley returns to Beverly Hills after his daughter's life is threatened for a family reunion that includes old pals John Taggart and Billy Rosewood to uncover a conspiracy. It has been 30 years since the last film. Like I mentioned in the Beverly Hills Cop 3 review, because of that movie, it took them this long to finally come up with a follow-up that would hopefully redeem themselves after that embarrassment. It has been in development hell since the mid-90s. It had fizzled out, then it came back into production status in like the early 2000s, and then no word from it, and there were some rumors about it in the mid-2000s or so, and then that went nowhere, and now we're in 2020s. It took them, it's been such a long time that it's now releasing on Netflix. These were in the theaters. From 1 through 3, they have all been released in the theaters. Now it's just going to a streaming service. Wow, how time has changed for this franchise. But Zach, how is the movie? You said that the third movie was terrible, so this one, how is it? Please tell me. Well, I could say it's nowhere near on the level of the last movie, that's for sure. I can happily say that. Thank God it's not. So at least it's not in that direction. And surprisingly, I would say it's better than the second film for me. But it does not beat the first film. It will never top that first movie. And I did have some problems with the film, but here are some of the positives that I saw with it. The performances, they're all fun. Eddie Murphy is hilarious but subdued as Axel Foley. Murphy is in full swing but brings a bit of maturity. I would say just a little. He seems to be in a better mood than the previous film. Ever since the last movie, taking a break from acting, or at the very least having time to reflect on things, it seems like he is in a much better state of mind with regards to actually bringing the full notions of what Axel Foley is supposed to be this time around, and he seems to be having a blast with playing this character again, but showing how much of the character has, I would say, a little bit grown since how he was in the films. And I think that does help for Murphy with regards to his age as well, because I mean, he's old himself. He's not a spring chicken no more. So for him to kind of change a little bit of what Axel is, but still retain what we like about Axel, I think that's a good way of pushing the narrative of showing that Axel can still be forefront, but not always the young guy who can do everything. Joesph Gordon-Levitt is enjoyable as Detective Bobby Abbott. Levitt brings a likability to Abbott, but doesn't feel like a copy and paste of both Billy or Taggart at all. That was my biggest problem with Beverly Hills Cop 3 with Hector Alonso, is that he felt like a shoehorned in version of John Taggart, and there was no way you could replace Taggart if John Ashton isn't there, or if you don't make this character different enough, because it just seems like they were trying to copy and paste with what Taggart is supposed to be from John Ashton to Hector Elizondo. This time around, Levitt doesn't feel like him, nor Billy at all. He feels like he is in his own separate way with regards to how he's presented as a cop. And yeah, he is a very likable presence. I've always enjoyed Joesph Gordon-Levitt in films, and to see him be in this movie teaming up with Murphy, I think is great. And speaking of that team up, both Murphy and Levitt are excellent together. They both have great comedic chemistry and are a good pair if they are going to make another one. If they do make another one, which I would still be iffy on with that, but if they do, at the very least, they have somebody who can replace, at the very least, a partner for Axel, because of course Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, they're old, they're not in their heyday anymore. So to have Joesph Gordon-Levitt, who isn't like super young, he is at the very least younger compared to those guys. So at the very least, having him team up with another younger person, I think works well, and I could see them doing more adventures together if they were to make another one. Taylour Paige is stern and determined as Jane Saunders, Axel's estranged daughter. Paige plays Saunders as a woman who wants to do the right thing but knows how to be emotional when her and Foley have heart-to-heart moments. I did very much enjoy Paige in this movie. She plays a defense attorney, different from her father who plays a cop. She is somebody who defends criminals. So it was kind of interesting to see two polar opposite sides of one another in terms of their positions. Both Murphy and Paige are great together by having some back and forth banter, but again, they are well with the emotional moments. Anytime they were to have any heart to heart moments, like I said, done very well. I think it does add a bit of levity and emotion to the movie with having this history between the two of them. Some people might find it annoying. For me, I actually kind of found that endearing at the very least because most of the Beverly Hills Cop movies didn't have huge emotion. First movie kind of did, but second and third one, not really as much. So for this movie to have a little bit more emotion to it, I think was a pretty good way to move forward with having any sort of conflict with the film. Judge Reinhold still brings back the same energy as Billy Rosewood, who's now a PI this time around. He's no longer a cop. Reinhold keeps the same craziness that Billy has had since the beginning of the series, which is good. Third movie, it seems like to me he again, Judge Reinhold, bless him, but he seemed like he was having a hard time with that movie. With this time around, it seems like they brought back kind of the nature of what Billy is supposed to kind of be with the first two movies, and I'm kind of glad that he was able to be a part of it and show how much he does have fun with this franchise. Returning since the second film, John Ashton, who still brings the stubbornness and stuck-up nature of John Tiger, who's now the chief of Beverly Hills Police Station, because in the third movie they had said that he had retired, but I guess he came back. Let's face it, a lot of people don't remember that third movie, and I can understand why. Ashton retains the cranky nature of Tiger while showing Ashton's enjoyment of this series. As much as it is sad to say John Ashton is no longer with us, at the very least, he was able to be a part of this movie and be part of this franchise one last time, to at the very least have a continuation of where this character ended up. And at the very least, it was just nice to see this actor again because it had been, for him, like more than 30 years since Beverly Hills Cop 2. That was the last time he appeared. So for him to come back, I think that was a good way to have the entire game back together one last time. Both Murphy, Reinhold, and Ashton are again terrific together, proving that they still have great comedic chemistry, and I am at the very least happy that they still retain that nature of it because when you get older, you kind of start to lose your way with regards to how you are, how the game used to be. No, they still retain the same nature that they've had since the first two movies, and to see them back together again, I think was just very sweet and very loving to see these actors just playing off of one another again. Bronson Pinchot, who played Serge in the first and third film, I didn't mention him in the first or third reviews, but I enjoy his character as much as the third movie is insufferable. I enjoy him when he appeared, but I really enjoyed him in the first movie. He is still funny as this character. He still captures the same vibes that he has always had playing Serge as a whole, this very European type of guy. I know the accent is outrageous, but it is kind of funny to see Bronson Pinchot just still having a fun time playing this character. Both Murphy and Pinchot work well with each other and are having a blast together because it had been, like I said, 30 years since the last time they did one of these, and this time around it feels just right to have them both together again. The direction is much better. Unlike John Landis, director Mark Molloy blends the action and comedy well enough, bringing back the same momentum of the series. As John Landis, again, I understand he's a comedy director, but that man could not do that movie. He really could not. So thankfully, Mark Molloy. And fun fact, Ali and Beall, who did Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys Ride or Die, were actually supposed to be attached to this movie and directed, but left due to creative differences. So it's kind of weird to see how you look at both the Bad Boys movies and this movie, and you're like, man, they kind of feel like in the similar vein. I could see that, yeah, they can kind of fall into the same tropings of kind of almost being copy and pasted in some way, but I will at least give Mark Molloy credit. He, at the very least, changed what the series is supposed to be. The action is entertaining. Every action sequence feels elevated and thrilling, keeping the fans and audiences engaged. It's a good thing that the action's better this time around, and it does feel a little bit upscaled. Now that it's on Netflix, it has a little bit of a bigger budget, so the action is a little bit more grander, but it is still quite a fun time seeing Axel and them get into shootouts and beating up bad guys here and there. The cinematography is captivating. Cinematographer Udo Gura keeps the film exciting by showcasing the environments of both Beverly Hills and Detroit. He also frames the action very well. At the very least, camera work doesn't feel stiff. It feels like it has some movement, it has some flow to it. It doesn't feel like it is awkward and stilted or poorly shot. It actually does feel like everything is in frame, all well shot, and for that, I'm at least happy for that. The music is stellar. Composer Lauren Bowlby, who actually was more recently had done the music for 2 of the Bad Boys movies, brings the same tone and styling that Harold Fulmeyer brought in the first 2 films, continuing the legacy in a good way. If for nothing else, I'm at least happy that the music, and I know this seems like I'm harping on Beverly Hills Cop 3, but guys, I mean, when that was the last movie, you gotta admit, things are much better. But the music this time around does feel like akin to what Harold Faltermeyer would have done when he did the first 2 movies, and to see Warren Bowlby continue in that regard is a good sign. The story is an improvement. Will Beall crafts a plot that is both familiar and fun. It may not be the most original, but is much better than the last film. Yes, I'm gonna keep on harping on that third movie because that third movie is just terrible. I cannot deny that. And so for the story to center on Axel and his estranged daughter and their relationship, as well as covering up this conspiracy theory, it was quite fun to watch, and it was just a nice way to see Axel again and returning to Beverly Hills once more. The production is amazing. Seeing the hard work be brought back into the series shows the dedication to bringing back Axel fully. From the sets, props, costumes, it feels right. The budget for this movie was $150 million, and rightfully so. It's a very expensive film compared to the other movies, but all that hard work pays off. Everything from what I mentioned feels akin to what the original Beverly Hills Cop movies tends to feel. It doesn't feel bloated in a way that is so humongous or anything. It still feels grounded, but at the very least, it is still within the feeling of the first 2 movies. While it is an improvement, there are some problems with the film that I saw, so here are some of the negatives that I found. Both Reinhold's and Ashton's screen time does feel limited. For Reinhold, he's pretty much in the film in both the beginning and near towards the end, while Ashton feels like he's only sprinkled throughout the film, and I do think that there could have been more of them, which is kind of a disappointment to see, especially since these are 2 characters that have been integral to Beverly Hills Cop, so to have them kind of not appear as much in the movie is kind of a disappointment for me, because I wish there could have been more of them. The villain is typical, though better than the last villain. He's just your typical corrupted cop that you've seen before. Nothing to really remember. And it's kind of obvious on who it is. If you look at the cast list, I mean, who do you think it is? Who do you honestly think it is? I mean, I'll give it credit. It gets it out of the way pretty quickly, but I mean, like, even when this movie was announced, you kind of obviously knew who was going to be the villain. And he's not bad. He's charming and likable, but you only like him because of who's playing him rather than the actual character. And the humor can be mixed. Sometimes the humor can land well, but other times it doesn't. While the actors make the not so good jokes work, they're still not always good, especially when it is a rebooted 4th film, that sometimes the humor is not going to always be as sharp or as witty as some of the previous entries. So with this being a mix of both modern day humor and kind of the classic old school feeling of what Eddie Murphy is used to, it can vary at some points and it can not always land that well. But in the end, it's an improvement over the last movie, that's for sure. Very least, they at least accomplished in that regard. It's a step in the right direction. While it's held back from its character screen time, villain, and humor, it's still a good time. If you have a chance to watch it, I would recommend it. If you've seen the Beverly Hills Cop movies, this is a good 4th entry to watch, and hopefully, if they were to make another one, they could improve some of the things, but honestly, I would be a little bit hesitant right now, because with John Ashton's passing, and I don't know where else can this series go, I'm a little bit hesitant to see more of it, but as it stands, I'm going to give Beverly Hills Cop-Axel F a 7 out of 10. I think it is a fun time. At the very least, is keep on saying this. It is better than that last movie. That's for damn sure. And surprisingly for me, it's better than the second, but it will never beat the first, obviously, of course. But still, a good time. So now I will give my reviews for the Twister movies, and then soon the Deadpool movies, and then July can be done. So yes, look forward to those reviews and other movie TV show reviews coming soon.